Make sure it's counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, you got it.
All right, hey, Shalom Israel. I
So
want
I
to give
want
all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh,
Yahweh
Ba'ashem,
Ba'ashem Yahweh
Yahushai,
Ba'ashem
Ba'ashem Akafadash,
Ba'ashem.
Yahweh, who the world ignorantly calls God, Yahushai is his son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, and there's no God beside him. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone for being faithful witnesses to the Holy Spirit. Salutations to the elect, whom the Lord have given ears to hear. As you may already know, I'm here with the brother Ashiyarba, GMS Israel Will Rise 4. The brother had did a part 1 to the holy day that we are celebrating, known as the Feast of Tabernacles. Salaki, not the Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of Dedication. I'm sorry, the Feast of Dedication. All right, and check the brother's page out. He went over, was it? You said first Maccabees 1 and 2. So now we're just going to jump into 3 and chapter 3 and chapter 4. The point's really in chapter 4, but it's good to go into the history leading up to that time. And pretty much, as always, there was a decree for all the world to follow the Greeks, but you had some people, which is what we're going to read. Mattathias, or I'm sorry, what's his name?
Mattathias and his 5 sons.
Right, you had Mattathias. Trying to get the names, Lakia.
Towards the end of chapter 2.
Chapter 2, right? Okay, yeah, I was in chapter 1. So you had Mattathias, who at this point, he passed away in chapter 2, but he left. You know what? Actually, yeah, we can start at 61.
All right. Let me share it real quick. All right. I'm going to read.
Actually, we start at 49. Yeah, okay, 49.
This is First Maccabees chapter 2, starting at verse 49. Now it says, Now when the time drew near that Mattathias should die, he said unto his sons, Now hath pride and rebuke gotten strength in the time of destruction and the wrath of indignation. Now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers.
Mm-hmm. And this is why it's important to go into these holy days, because this is our strength. You see, in this world, the only thing that's celebrated is your downfall, i.e., Thanksgiving. All right. But with Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, the only thing that's going to be celebrated, and the only thing that he actually wants us to celebrate, all right, is our overcoming of the heathen. All right. Therefore, you have what? The Passover. And not only the Passover, but you have what? Feast of Weeks, Feast of Tabernacles, different memorials celebrating our deliverance from slavery. Okay.
Verse 51, it says, Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time, so shall ye receive great honor and an everlasting name.
Mm-hmm. And again, this is something that we're going to need to arm ourselves as we go into these dark times. All right, our forefathers, their main mission, all right, was to push the furtherance of Israel, push the furtherance of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai in their laws, and therefore a book of remembrance was written for them. When you read throughout the scriptures, you should know one thing. You must know is that it's for a particular people, which is Israel.
Hey, real quick, Salaki, if I pause or anything, you got it. I just have to mute my mic and everything for a minute. Actually, hold up. All right, verse 52. It says, was not Abraham found faithful in temptation, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness? Joseph, in the time of his distress, kept the commandment and was made Lord of Egypt. Phineas, our father, being zealous and fervent, obtained the covenant of an everlasting priesthood. Joshua, fulfilling the word, was made a judge in Israel. Caleb, for bearing witness before the congregation, received the heritage of the land. Verse 57, David, for being merciful, possessed the throne of an everlasting kingdom. Elijah, for being zealous and fervent for the law, was taken up into heaven. Ananias, Azarias, and Misael, by believing, were saved out of the flame. Daniel, for his innocency, was delivered from the mouth of lions.
Right. So again, hey, bad times is coming. So it's good to know, it's good to have these it's good to have the knowledge of our forefathers and in front of our minds for us to get through these hard times. Remember what the scriptures say: wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of that time and strength of salvation.
Right. Um, and then another, you can also read about these different men in Sirach chapters 44 to like uh from Sirach chapter 44 to like 50, you know. But it says, verse 61, and thus consider ye throughout all ages, even included now. They said this back then. All right. They literally said this back then in that time about throughout all ages. It says that none that put their trust in him shall be overcome. So that includes even now, you know.
Yep.
Verse 62, fear not then the words of a sinful man, for his glory shall be dung and worms. Today he shall be lifted up, and tomorrow he shall not be found, because he is returned into his dust, and his thought is come to nothing. Verse 64, wherefore ye, my sons, be valiant, and show yourselves men in the behalf of the law, for by it shall ye obtain glory.
Right. So again, it's all about obtaining. It's hey, one thing, you know, one thing, a man of the Lord always cared about is his name with the Lord.
Right.
All right. They rather die than stay in their name with Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. The Lord, he created, especially the elect, he created them to be leaders so that through their works, Israel could learn about the Lord.
Right. Real quick, is Ecclesiastes 7:1. A good name is better than precious ointment, in the day of death than the day of one's birth.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So yeah, back, it was and even just, in general, like back then it was, a good thing to have a good name. People really cared about it, as opposed to today as well. Verse 60.
Exactly. Like you
You
think
got it.
about Judas Iscariot. Every time he was brought up, he was brought up in a bad light. The son of perdition, one who the one who betrayed the Lord. Like you don't want to have that stigma on you because that follows you. Remember, this Bible is known as what? The book of remembrance. So whether you did good or whether you did evil, that's written. And that's written forever. As the brother just pointed out, the point of what's that point you brought out? It says, and thus consider ye throughout all ages.
Right.
So this word, this is a stigma on you. Your works, when it's written down, that can't change. It lasts forever. Yep.
It says, verse 65, and behold, I know that your brother Simon is a man of counsel. Give ear unto him always, he shall be a father unto you. As for Judas Maccabeus, he hath been mighty and strong even from his youth up. Let him be your captain and fight the battle of the people. Take also unto you all those that observe the law and avenge ye the wrong of your people.
And this goes to show you what kind of man you should want over you. A man that's wise in counsel,
Right.
right? Men that's mighty and strong.
Yep.
All right. That's a good balance, you know.
And then at the same time, regarding the says someone that's wise, it's Rock 34:9, real quick. It says, a man that has traveled knoweth many things, and he that has much experience will declare wisdom. He that hath no experience knoweth little, but he that hath traveled is full of prudence. And today, this day and age, the Lord said he will give us pastors according to his heart. We have our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, man. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And they're called our spiritual fathers. You see?
Yeah.
And wisdom is better than weapons of war and might, even, you know. So,
Hey,
and
Salaki,
then,
that's a
huh,
Salaki, my fault, my fault.
no, you got it.
No, I'm gonna say that's a good point you made because remember how the Lord said he was coming. He said he was just going to destroy them with the spirit of his mouth, then by the brightness of his coming. Right? So men of understanding is needed in this time. All right. This is how we're going to tear this devil down.
Right. Yep. But then, you know, right. See? And even though it said Judas Maccabee, he was just the captain and everything. Simon, he was says a man of counsel. He should be like a father unto you, man. You know. So it's going to show that point of wisdom. Verse 68 now, recompense fully the heathen and take heed to the commandments of the law. So he blessed them and was gathered to his fathers, and he died in 146th year, and his sons buried him in the sepulchres of his fathers at Modin, and all Israel made great lamentation for him. Oh, now going into because part one was chapters 1 and 2, and now part two is First Maccabees chapter 3 and 4. All right. But it says, for Maccabees 3 and 1, I'm gonna just read. Then his son Judas, called Maccabeus rose up in his stead, and all his brethren helped him, and so did all they that held was his father. And they fought with cheerfulness the battle of Israel. So he got his people great honor, and put on a breastplate as a giant, and girt his warlike harness about him, and he made battles, protecting the host with his sword. And like you see people in in the heathen nations or whatever, they be having people that they have remembrance, their history, culture, whatever, that they honor. Well, we got people, we got mighty forefathers of our own nation, man. You got people like this man here, Judas Maccabees and his brothers. You got King David, Samson. All right, you know, men of extreme wisdom. All right, and faith, etc. And the thing is, like now this holiday season, well, people in the world are so caught up on that. But here it is. We have our holy day. All right, to which commemorates the dedication. Okay, which we're gonna get into. Verse verse 4 says, "In his acts he was like a lion, and like a lion's whelp roaring for his prey. For he pursued the wicked and sought them out, and burned up those that vex his people." And the thing is, right, because the Lord is the one that put that together. This is the book of Acts, chapter 5. Um, Let me get in the NLT real quick. Acts 5, and where is it?
Hey, while you get that out, you had made the point of even today, like how people are celebrated for their bravery and their great accomplishments.
Right.
Like the so-called founding fathers, like you have which is a national holiday over here in the States, it's called Columbus Day. Now, I said, what's so special about Columbus Day? It says, Columbus Day is a federal holiday in the United States that commemorates the arrival of Christopher Columbus in the Americas on October 12th, 1492. So he's pretty much like a hero for his people. It says it's celebrated on the second Monday of October. Mind you, he so-called founded the New World, which we know as today as Dominican Republic. You know, where it was land, gold, slaves. You know, and new territory for these devils to conquer. It says it says the beginning of recorded history in America, which is a lie. Columbus' arrival marked the beginning of recorded history in America and opened relations between the Americas and the rest of the world. Which the rest of the world at that time was what? Those Italians and so-called Spanish over there in the eastern part.
Right. Yep. And like you were saying, they got people they look up to, or we got people we look up to, and out of our own home, out of our own nation, and that thing with Christopher Columbus, man, that like that put in that added hurt to injury or however you say it. But because once he found out about the new world, or they came over here, like man, they
Insult
came
to
over
injury.
here. Yep, yep. But and we came over here because if one knows about it, then the rest gonna know about it. He recorded things, took it back, sent people back to Spain, all that to, you know. So you know what can you say, man? But it was all meant to happen. All right, but like the brother said, they got people that, that they look up to in the world, and or commemorate. We have people we commemorate, man. You know, but it's just Acts 5 and real quick 33 in the NLT. It says, when they heard this, the high council was furious and decided to kill him. One member, a Pharisee named Gamaliel, who was an expert in religious law and respected by all the people, stood up and ordered that the men be sent outside the council chamber for a while. Then he said to his colleagues, men of Israel, take care what you are planning to do to these men. Some time ago there was that fellow Theudas, who pretended to be someone great. About 400 others joined him, but he was killed, and all his followers went their various ways. The whole movement came to nothing. After him, at the time of the census, there was Judas of Galilee. He got people to follow him, but he was killed too, and all his followers were scattered. All right, so you see, he's making a point at how you know, there's certain movements you would say of men that that man created. All right, and it came to nothing. For example, and then now you can see that nowadays, like like what? Well, let me say in this time, with the civil rights thing and all of that, and that dude Grandmaster Jay and everything. Like these are things made off of men. Okay, if the Lord ain't behind it, then as it says in the next verse 38. So my advice is leave these men alone, let them go. If they are planning and doing these things merely on their own, it will soon be overthrown. But if it is from the Most High, you will not be able to overthrow them. You may even find yourselves fighting against the Most High. You see. So the thing is, the Lord created. The Lord had, the Maccabees brothers come together, you know, to fight for Israel. You see, and they weren't overthrown. All right, until the Lord says so. Okay, but First Maccabees 3:6 it says, "Wherefore the wicked shrunk for fear of him, and all the workers of iniquity were troubled, because salvation prospered in his hand." See, because once again the Lord was behind it. He grieved also many kings and made Jacob glad with his acts, and his memorial is blessed forever. Spiritual, I was going and on like the you know, the we talking about it and it's just popping up,
Hmm.
about memorials of, acts of men of old and everything. Verse 8. Moreover, he went throughout it's like First Maccabees 3:8. Moreover, he went through the cities of Judah, destroying the ungodly out of them and turning away wrath from Israel. so that he was renowned to the utmost part of the earth, and he received unto him such as were ready to perish. And Apollonius gathered the Gentiles together in a great host out of Samaria to fight against Israel. Which thing when Judas perceived, Salakia, First Maccabees 3:11 says, which thing when Judas perceived, he went forth to meet him, and so he smote him and slew him. Many also fell down slain, but the rest fled. Wherefore Judas took their spoils, and Apollonius his sword also, and therewith he fought all his life long. Now when Saron, a prince of the army of Syria, heard say that Judas had gathered unto him a multitude and company of the faithful to go out with him to war, he said, I will get me a name and honor in the kingdom, for I will go fight with Judas and them that are with him, who despise the king's commandment. So he made ready to go up, and there went with him a mighty host of the ungodly to help him, and to be avenged of the children of Israel. And when he came near to the going up of Bethoron, Judas went forth to meet him with a small company. But when they saw the host coming to meet them, said unto Judas, how shall we be able, being so few, so that's the thing, being so few, to fight against so great a multitude and so strong, seeing we are ready to faint with fasting all this day. Verse 18. So they asking Judas, like, how are we going to be able to beat this whole army, this huge host, being that, we are few in number, and we're faint with fasting, because fasting, takes energy out of you. You starve in the flesh. You see. Verse 18, unto whom Judas answered, it is no hard matter it is no hard matter. I mean, it's easy for what? For many to be shut up in the hands of a few. And with the God of heaven, it is all one to deliver with a great multitude or a small company. And that's the thing, right? Because a lot of these Israelite camps is, um, so gung ho on numbers, having large numbers, making, a large thing out of numbers. They feel a certain way because they have a lot of numbers, and it just puts some pride on them. But they don't understand that the Lord ain't dealing. The Lord don't, the Lord don't want all Jake to get it, man. All right, the Lord been work with a few. Okay, in the time of the flood, He saved a few. Um, let me see. Oh, even when the time was when Yahushua was around, not all Israel believed him. Remember in John the first chapter, it said he came unto his own, and his own received him not. Not saying there weren't Israelites that did receive him, but it wasn't the majority of them. You know, but the point being that the Lord, he he doesn't need he doesn't need a whole bunch of numbers. When Yahushua comes back, Salaki, I know I'm going on a little bit. When Yahushua comes back, who you think? Who you think he's gonna take the whole nation? Nah, man. With just a few, okay, just a few handful of Israelites, the Lord gonna take over the world. Verse 19. For the victory of battle standeth not in the multitude of an host, but strength coming from heaven. See, it says, um, actually, Slock, I got a precept. If you got something, real quick, say it. Real quick. This is Psalms chapter 33, verse 16. The best equipped army cannot save a king, nor is great strength enough to save a warrior. Don't count on your war horse to give you victory. For all its strength, it cannot save you. But the Lord watches over those who fear him, those who rely on his unfailing love. He rescues them from death and keeps them alive in time of famines. We put our hope in the Lord. He is our help and our shield. See? And that's what they did. We just read how it said, thus consider out through all ages, none that puts their trust in him should be overcome. So let's see the outcome of this battle. Verse 20. They come against us in much pride and iniquity to destroy us and our wives and children and to spoil us. But we fight for our lives and our laws. Wherefore the Lord himself will overthrow them before our face. And as for you, be ye not afraid of them. Now, as soon as he had left off speaking, and you got the scripture where it talks about in the law, if someone's fearful, go home.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up.
You know, it's a lot of scriptures that talk about not being fearful, man. You know, it just you're not supposed to have a fearful spirit. The scriptures say Lord didn't give us a spirit of fear, but of roughly paraphrasing, you know, but
Yeah,
of the
Deuteronomy 20 verse 7.
uh, calm. Deuteronomy 20:7, it says, uh,
The
so it
point's at
says,
8, so you could read up. I just want to read up a little bit.
KJV. All right, Deuteronomy 20, verse 7. And what man is there that has betrothed a wife and hath not taken her? Let him go and return unto his house, lest he die in a battle, and another man take her. And officers shall speak further unto the people, and they shall say, what man is there that is fearful and faint hearted? Let him go and return into his house, lest his brethren's heart faint as well as his heart. Man. So that can get contagious. You know? Yeah, something you want to say?
Nah, just well, hey, like into this truth. We out here in war. You can't that's why the scriptures say, be not entangled with this life. All right, because the things of this life can make you, what I'm saying, second guess being out there on the highways and byways. Because this is life and death. Though for you newcomers, you must know this is a life and death situation we're in. Every time you step out there on the line, as we call it, out there in the highways and hedges, we go to the same spot every Saturday, so it ain't hard to find us. All right. Nevertheless, of course, we know we got the angels watching over us. All right, but it's still a life and death situation out there. And
Right.
you, again, like the brother said, you can't be faint-hearted. It tells us in Sirach 2:14, woe unto the faint-hearted, for he shall not be defended.
Yep. Um, First Maccabees 3 and verse 23 says, now as soon as he had let those speak, and he leapt suddenly upon them, and so Saran and his host was overthrown before him. And they pursued them from the going down from Beth Horon into the plain, where were slain about 800 men of them, and the residue fled into the land of the Philistines. So they won. You see? Verse 25. Then began the fear of Judas and his brethren, and an exceeding great dread to fall upon the nations round about them, insomuch as his fame came unto the king, and all nations talked of the battles of Judas. Now when King Antiochus heard these things, he was full of indignation. Wherefore he sent and gathered together all the forces of his realm, even a very strong army. He opened also his treasure, and gave his soldiers pay for a year, commanding them to be ready whensoever he should need them. Nevertheless, when he saw that the money of his treasures failed, and that the tributes in the country were small, because of the dissension and plague which he had brought upon the land, and taken away the laws which had been of old time,
Mm,
he feared.
look at that. Damn.
Which what
Hey,
in
that's why
Israel?
that's why this place in Israel, as we know it today, cannot be prosperous. It says, as you see right there, nevertheless, when he saw the money of his treasures fail, and the tributaries in the country were small because of the dissension and plague, which he had brought upon the land, and taken away the laws which had been of old time. So that's very serious, man. You X out the Lord gonna X you out.
Uh, yep. I think there was a example. I'm not gonna get it, but an example of old where they had lions come up in the land when they took the northern kingdom out and put
Oh
their
yeah, with the Assyrians, they had took over the land, and then the Lions came and destroyed them because they was trying to they wasn't following the laws, right? Something like that. I know you're
yeah,
talking.
they had to put a Levite in there to teach them how to do it, priests.
Yeah, I
But
was trying to find that the other day because the brother had made a beautiful point of how even in that it just shows you how when you do wrong in the land by not following the Lord, you know, you get consequences.
yep,
The curses essentially fall on you, or you get cursed.
yep. Verse 30 says, He feared that he should not be able to bear the charges any longer, nor to have such gifts to give so liberally as he did before, for he had abounded above the kings that were before him. Wherefore, being greatly perplexed in his mind, he determined to go into Persia, there to take the trip, which is modern day Iran, there to take the tributes of the countries and to gather much money. So he left Lysias, or Lysias, however you say it, a nobleman and one of the blood royal, to oversee Slaki, to oversee the affairs of the king from the river Euphrates into the borders of Egypt. So he about to go in. So Antiochus Epiphanes about to go into Persia, modern day Iran, and left Lysias to oversee everything. Verse 33, and to bring up his son Antiochus until he came again. It says, moreover, he delivered unto him the half of his forces and the elephants, and gave him charge of all things that he would have done, as also concerning them that dwelt in Judah and Jerusalem. To wit, that he should send an army against them to destroy and root out the strength of Israel and the remnant of Jerusalem, and to take away their memorial from that place. And it says, in that he should place strangers in all their quarters and divide their land by lot. We just said that, you know. It says, verse 37, so the king took the half of the forces that remained and departed from Antioch, his royal city, the 147th year. And having passed the river Euphrates, he went through the high countries. Then Lysias chose Ptolemy, the son of Dorimenes, Nicanor, and Gorgias, Georgius, mighty men of the king's friends. And with them he sent 40,000 footmen and 7,000 horsemen to go into the land of Judah and to destroy it as the king commanded. So they went forth with all their power and came and pitched by Emos in the plain country. And the merchants of the country, hearing the fame of them, took silver and gold very much with servants and came to the camp to buy the children of Israel for slaves. A power of Syria, a power also of Syria, and the land of Philistines joined themselves unto them. Now when Judas and his brethren saw that miseries were multiplied, and that the forces did encamp themselves in their borders, for they knew how the king had given commandment to destroy the people and utterly abolish them, they said one to another, let us restore the decayed fortune of our people, and let us fight for our people and the sanctuary. All right. Now, verse 44 it says, then was the congregation gathered together.
The block
They,
is.
uh-huh.
It also goes to show you, man, nobody cares like a man of the Lord.
All right.
You know, because they, mind you, man, let me grab something real quick about Kasha. This is Romans chapter 5 and verse 7. It says, but scarcely for a righteous man will one die, yet peradventure for a good man some would even dare to die.
Mm.
You know, but it says, but God commended his love toward us, and that while we were yet sinners, Yahweh shall die for us. But again, just going to show the point that it's very rare, you know, especially for Israel, that one would care for the other. You know, the curses fell upon us in every way, and you see it today. It's a dog eat dog world. Every man for themselves. But the elect, the one who the Lord chosen, the one who the Lord put the spirit of Yahweh Shai in, they have a all around different spirit. You know.
Right. But First Maccabees 3:44 now says, then was the congregation gathered together that they might be ready for battle, that they might pray and ask mercy and compassion. Now Jerusalem lay void as a wilderness. There was none of her children that went in or out. The sanctuary also was trodden down, and aliens kept the stronghold, meaning heathens. The heathen had their habitation in that place, and joy was taken from Jacob, and the pipe with the harp ceased. So this was a bad time for Jacob.
A
Verse
time of
46.
lamentations.
Say it one time.
I said it was a time of lamentations.
Yep. Let me look at that word, man, real quick. Lamentation. It says lamentation, the passionate expression of grief or sorrow, weeping. See, it's a grievous time that thing, man. It's not about to be real. So what's coming is about to surpass this. All right, making that clear. First Maccabees 3:46. Wherefore the Israelites assembled themselves together. It came to Maspha over against Jerusalem, for Maspha was a place where they prayed aforetime in Israel. And they fasted that day and put on sackcloth and cast ashes upon their heads and rent their clothes. See, they were mourning. So it was a bad time. Verse 48. And laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images.
Mm. That's Job 9:24.
Nope.
Every time Esau get up in there, he want to switch things up for his narrative.
24 says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? See?
Yep. So essentially, every time this devil got up into power, it was always a renaissance, which that word renaissance meaning new beginning. He's rewriting history for his gain.
And then you got this term here called iconoclasm. All right. And you could read the history about it. I ain't gonna read it or anything like that. Time's sake. But they pretty much they had, as you see right here. And iconoclasm literally means like image breaker or something like that, You see? But it's an old painting of somebody painting over the images. You see? Going back to that. First Maccabees 3:49 says, they brought also the priests' garments and the first fruits of the tithes, and the Nazarites they stirred up who had accomplished their days. Then cried they with a loud voice toward heaven, saying, what shall we do with these, and whither shall we carry them away? For thy sanctuary is trodden down and profaned, and thy priests are in heaviness and brought low. And lo, the heathen are assembled together against us to destroy us. What things they imagine against us, thou knowest. So look, check that out, man. The things that the heathen want to do against us, the Lord already knows. Okay, He's the one that controls it. Like they told, if you read in Acts 4, it'll tell you how the things that they did to Yahweh Shai, that pretty much to do whatever the Lord's counsel and hand determined. So just like now, this devil wants to do certain stuff to brothers, come against us, and the Lord already knows, man. So they plan ain't top secret. Okay. And the scriptures give us, let us know. Verse 53 says, how shall we be able to stand against them except thou, O God, be our help? Same thing now. Then sounded they with trumpets and cried with a loud voice. And after this, Judas ordained captains over the people, even captains over thousands, over hundreds, and over fifties, and over tens. But as for such as were building houses, or had betrothed wives, or were planting vineyards, or were fearful, those he commanded that they should return every man to his own house according to the law, as we read. So the camp removed and pitched upon the south side of Emos. And Judas said, arm yourselves and be valiant men, and see that ye be in readiness against the morning, that ye may fight with these nations that are assembled together against us to destroy us in our sanctuary. For it is better for us to die in battle than to behold the calamities of our people in our sanctuary. Nevertheless, as the will of the Most High is in heaven, so let him do. That's what it all come down to. All of that The last verse of this chapter is, "As the will of the Most High is in heaven, let him do." You know, and towards the end of Yahushua's ministry before he got on the cross, he said to the Father, he said uh that he pretty much said nevertheless thy will be done. You know, but last chapter, First Maccabees 4, starting at verse 1. All right, it says
I got you right here. And that last point you made, Matthew 26 and 39.
yep, Matthew 26 and 39. And he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, "O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt." You know, the thing is, man, the Lord's will gonna be done regardless of what you want to happen, what somebody else wants to happen, how you may feel. It's the Lord's will, man. You know, it's gonna happen. Okay, so
That's it.
yeah, you gonna say something?
No, I was gonna say that's it. The best thing we could do is humble ourselves to
Yep. Just take it as it is, man. They got a saying in the world, if something's out of your hands, you really don't even really need to stress about it, you know. So the Lord, his will is what it is, man. So it might as well, you can't change it. For example, some brothers had a lot of being put to death, you know, as a martyr for the Lord. Can't change it. You can't escape that. You just can't, you know. There's no rewriting of, your lot. It is what it is, you know. You just got to take it. That's just the reality of it, man. But First Maccabees chapter 4, starting at verse 1, says, "Then took uh, Gorgias, Georgius 5,000 men, it's like 5,000 footmen and 1,000 of the best horsemen, and removed out of the camp by night, to the end he might rush in upon the camp of the Jews and smite them suddenly. And the men of the fortress were his guides. Now when Judas heard thereof, he himself removed, and the valiant men with him, that he might smite the king's army which was at Emos, while yet the forces were dispersed from the camp. In the mean season came Georgius by night into the camp of Judas, and when he found no man there, he sought them in the mountains. For it said he, These fellows flee from us. But as soon as it was day, Judas showed himself in the plain with 3,000 men, who nevertheless had neither armor nor swords to their minds. And they saw the camp of the heathen, that it was strong and well harnessed, and compassed round about with horsemen. And these were expert of war. Then said Judas to the men that were with him, Fear ye not their multitude, neither be afraid of their assault. Remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea, when Pharaoh pursued them with an army. Now therefore, and that's the thing, right? I'm going to get a quick precept. That's it. First, Maccabees 12, 9. Therefore, we also, albeit we need none of these things, that we have the holy books of Scripture in our hands to comfort us. See? So as he's recalling, the things written aforetime, man, you know, he's trying, comfort the men that's with him. See? First Maccabees 4 and 10. Now therefore let us cry in heaven, if peradventure, meaning perhaps, the Lord will have mercy upon us, and remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy this host before our face this day, that so all the heathen may know that there is one who delivereth and saveth Israel. Right? Then the strangers lifted up their eyes and saw them coming over against them. Wherefore they went out of the camp to battle, but they that were with Judah sounded their trumpets, so they joined battle, and the heathen being discomfited fled into the plain. Howbeit all the hindmost of them were slain with the sword, for they pursued them on the Gezerah, and to the plains of Idumea and Azotus and Jamnia, so that there were slain of them upon a 3,000 men. This done, Judas returned again with his host from pursuing them, and said to the people, Be not greedy of the spoil, inasmuch as there is a battle before us. And Georgius and his hosts are here by us mountain. But stand ye now against our enemies and overcome them. And after this, ye may boldly take the spoils. So you got to wait, have some patience. As Judas was yet speaking these words, there appeared a part of them looking out of the mountain, who, when they perceived that the Jews had put their host to flight and were burning the tents, for the smoke that was seen declared what was done. When therefore they perceived these things, they were so afraid, and seeing also the host of Judas in the plain ready to fight, they fled every one into the land of strangers. Then Judas returned to spoil the tents, where they got much gold and silver and blue silk, and purple of the sea and great riches. After this, they went home and sung a song of thanksgiving. Now there's something to really have Thanksgiving about. See what I'm saying? That's something to really have Thanksgiving about, man. To hell with this damn holiday. All right.
Yeah.
But, you know, here it is. That's something. The Lord had the holy day and the holiday happen at the same time. But, in the history of it, it's Thanksgiving in here. See? You have some or no?
Now, I was gonna bring up a point, but I just want to get my facts straight first.
Oh, come on. You may continue reading.
Yeah, you got it.
And it says, after this, they went home and sung a song of thanksgiving and praised the Lord in heaven, because it is good, because his mercy endures forever. Thus Israel, and the Lord's mercy is only towards actually, hold on, I'm hold on that, because the scripture came to mind. Just bear along with me. First Maccabees 4:25 says, thus Israel had a great deliverance that day. Now all the strangers that had escaped came and told Lysias what was, I
Oh,
think it's Lysias.
Salakia.
You good?
Yeah, I'm bringing this point out because you mentioned this. That's the real Thanksgiving, right?
Uh,
Of us getting victory over our enemies. Because on the flip side today, right, with this Thanksgiving, it's called the Pequot Massacre, also known as Mystic Massacre, was a violent event that occurred on May 26, 1637, and is often linked to the origins of Thanksgiving. You see it at the top part? It's
yeah, right here.
yeah, that part.
Uh,
That's weird. It doesn't show the same thing as me.
you know the site name? I just type it in.
No, I'm not even on the site. It shows it on the
Well, this is
how you
like,
put it. Oh, I'll put in Pequot Massacre and Thanksgiving. That's what you gotta put. Yeah, that part. The top where you say AI overview.
yep. It's also called the Mystic Massacre. Hmm.
Yep. So as the brother was mentioning, what's the reason to give Thanksgiving? You have understanding. Esau and Jacob were fighting in the womb. Esau's so-called white man, Jacob is so-called black Hispanics, Native Americans. It will always be like that. And it's thanks you only thankful when or these let's I say you're only thankful when one gets the upper hand over the other. So it says the Pequot Massacre, also known as the Mystic Massacre, was a violent event that occurred on May 26, 1637, and is often linked to the origins of Thanksgiving. The Pequot Massacre was a pre-dawn attack on the Pequot village at Mystic Fort, Connecticut, that resulted in the deaths of over 500 Pequot people. The attack was part of the Pequot War, a 3-year conflict between the East English and their Native American allies against the Pequot tribes. The massacre was a major defeat for the Pequot and effectively ended their war effort. Now it says where it says the proclamation in 1637, Massachusetts Bay Colony Governor John Winthrop declared a day of Thanksgiving to celebrate the English settlers' victory over the Pequot.
Wow.
Right. So here it is their Thanksgiving. Here it is their Thanksgiving. They were pretty much appreciative that they destroyed our people. And that's understandable because we're their enemies. They understand that,
All right.
you know. And this is where we, we ought to celebrate our day of Thanksgiving.
All right. Shit. Hey, what's the name? Hey, when the Lord destroy this place, it's gonna be, we're gonna celebrate that. Jeremiah 16 and 15, but it's verse 14 real quick. Therefore, behold, the days come, say the Lord, that there shall no more be said, the Lord liveth, that brought the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But the Lord liveth, that brought the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands where they had driven them. And I will bring them again into the land that I gave to their fathers. So this new Passover coming, and we're gonna celebrate it, man. Once the Lord delivers us out of this place, destroy it, man. See, hey, in Revelation, uh, 18, it says this regarding this is going into future prophecy. Revelation 18 and 20. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for the Most High hath avenged you on her. You see. So just like they when they was getting established and taking over, you know, America, all right, and taking down Gad and other tribes and things. Well, we gonna rejoice when the Lord destroy this place. It's in the Bible. I'm reading it right here. You know.
Yeah,
So
man.
and then this part right here under that it says the Native American.
Because if one person's having fun, the other person is catching hell.
Yep,
Hmm.
heaven and hell. Okay, but it says that under the Native American perspective, many Native Americans view Thanksgiving as a celebration of white victory and an affront to the history of the continent. They may instead choose to honor their ancestors on Thanksgiving Day. In 1970, a National Day of Mourning was established, and many Native Americans gathered in Plymouth to commemorate this day. So that's
Hmm.
really an Edomite holiday, to be honest. It ain't a holy day for us, or a holiday for Jake, man.
Hey, real quick, this is
Uh-huh.
Proverbs 15 and 15. All the days of the afflicted are evil, but he that is of a merry heart have a continual feast. So we ain't on that side of we ain't on that side of the love song, so to speak, at this point. But we will be.
Hmm. And the scriptures say, it's a rock. Hey, man.
Sirach 43, I think. Is it 43? Oh, 41.
Oh wait. Let me see if I'll find it real quick.
Oh, Sirach 11, I think. Prosperity. I think you're talking about Sirach
Here it
11.
is. Yeah, I got it. Sirach 11:25 through what it says. In the day of prosperity, there is a forgetfulness of affliction. That's what we're gonna have in the kingdom. I mean, we go. I mean, hey, you know, we're gonna take thought of it in the kingdom, but we're really gonna be concerned about what we doing in the kingdom, man. All right. It says, and in the day of affliction, there is no more remembrance of prosperity. See, and right now, our people catching hell. You hear, you don't really think about good times too much when you catching hell.
Yeah.
You don't really, and when you, and that's the thing. I got, and I'm, low key specifically talking about something else too. When you think about certain happy, memorable events, it adds more affliction. You know what I mean? Things you might have done in the past that were considered happy moments or happy times. You know, and brother, I know you know exactly what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but you know, the thing, certain things you've done in the past, man. Catching hell. It's like, man, that you start thinking like me personally. I thought like one time, I was catching hell and stuff. I started thinking about stuff I did in the past, happy. That was like a good memory. I was like, man, that's in the past, man. I got to deal with this right here. You know. But it's okay because in the kingdom, every day is gonna be like, oh man, I gotta get that. I gotta get it. Salakia. I must be allowed to speak. Uh, see. Psalm 84:10. For a day in thy courts is better than 1,000. Okay, so a day in the kingdom is better than 1,000 of your best days on this side. You know, 'cause I had rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than to dwell in the tents of wickedness. Okay, so we always gonna be happy in the kingdom. You know, it's gonna be a certain day specifically. All right, it tells you Zechariah. You know, we're gonna look up. Pretty much, it goes into I believe Yahweh's child's body when he was crucified or something. But other than that, we really gonna have a good time in the kingdom, man. First Maccabees 4 and 26. It said, now all the strangers that had escaped came and told Lysias what had happened. Who, when he heard thereof, he was confounded and discouraged, because neither such things as he would were done in Israel, nor such things as the king commanded him would come to pass. The next year, therefore, following Lysias gathered together 60, meaning 60,000 choice men of foot, and 5,000 horsemen, that he might subdue them. So they came into Idumea and pitched their tents at Bethsura, and Judas met them with 10,000 men. And when he saw that mighty army, he prayed and said, blessed art thou, O Savior of Israel, who didst quell the violence of the mighty man by the hand of thy servant David, and gave us the host of strangers, and to the hands of Jonathan the son of Saul and his armor bearer. Shut up this army in the hand of thy people Israel, and let them be confounded in their power and horsemen. Make them to be of no courage, and cause the boldness of their strength to fall away. Let them quake at their destruction. Cast them down with the sword of them that love thee. Let all those that know thy name praise thee with thanksgiving. So, and that's the thing. If the Lord was with all the heathen nations, why he letting Jake pray for a downfall on him? You know, add that in there. Verse 34. So they joined battle, and there were slain of the host of Lysias about 5,000 men. Even before them were they slain. Now when Lysias saw his army put to flight, and the manliness of Judas' soldiers, and how they were ready to either to live or die valiantly, he went into and Antiochia, Antiochia, and gathered together a company of strangers, and having made his army greater than it was, he purposed to come again into Judea. Then said Judas and his brethren, behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuaries. Now it's about to get into it, all right? Where this holy day stems from. You see? So he's saying to Judas, saying to his brother, let's go and, cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary. Upon this, all the hosts assembled themselves together and went up into Mount Zion. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate and the altar profane, and the gates burned up, and shrubs growing in the courts as in a forest, or on one of the mountains, yea, and the priest's chamber pulled down, you just imagine how that looked. Everything messed up, shrubs growing in the courts, you know, the priest's chambers being pulled down and everything. All right. Verse 39, they rent their clothes and made great lamentation and cast ashes upon their heads and fell down flat to the ground upon their faces and blew an alarm with the trumpets and cried toward heaven. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress until he had cleansed the sanctuary. So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary and bare out the defiled stones into an unclean place. And when as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profane, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them because the heathen had defiled it. Therefore they pulled it down and laid up the stones of the mountain of the temple in a convenient place until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them. Then they took whole stones according to the law and built a new altar according to the former, and made the sanctuary the things that were within the temple and hollowed the courts. They made also new holy vessels, and into the temple they brought the candlestick and the altar of burnt offerings and of incense and the table. And upon the altar they burned incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted, that they might give light in the temple. Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table and spread up the veils, and finished all the works which they had begun to make. Verse 52, now on the 25th day of the ninth month, which is called the month Caslu, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had me. Um, it says verse 54. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it. Even in that was dedicated with songs of citars and harps and cymbals. Hey, hey, you mind? It's a certain scripture in First Maccabees where it talks about that, to where how they uh just pretty much profaned it. I don't know if you'll be able to find it. You might be able to. I'm trying to find it. Oh, First Maccabees 1 and
Oh,
54.
49.
Yeah, First Maccabees 1 and 54. Got it.
Yeah, I got it. I'll read it for you.
Con.
And this is history, and this goes back to the book of Daniel, going into the abominations of desolations. What's that? Daniel's the 8th chapter.
9.
Daniel's 9.
Yeah. Con, like 54 through 59. You want to read it or you want me to read it?
Yeah, I'll read it. I'll read it. It says, now the 15th day of the month Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side. So that was 3 years. They rededicated the temple 3 years later, right? Because it says in I think that was the 148th year in
Yeah.
chapter 4.
First Maccabees 4 and 52. Now on the 5 and 20, on the 5 and 20th day of the ninth month, which is called the month Caslu, and 100. So on the 25th day of the ninth month, which is called the month of Caslu, in the 148th year. So 25th day of the month Caslu, and then
Yeah, so and then when you read, because I was reading, I think was it that same chapter in chapter 1. Every year
Mhm.
before that, the heathen would come and destroy the temple.
Hmm.
Let me see. I was just reading this yesterday. Where did I see that at? Yeah, First Maccabees 1 and 21. First Maccabees 1 and 21.
Yep.
It says, read up verse 20. And after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt. He returned again in 140 and third year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude. So really, it was 5 years. He was just no, I'm sorry, 143rd, and then they recontemplated in 145th. So yeah, around 2-3 years,
Hmm.
right? So it says, yeah, you could go back up to verse 19, Bob Shaw. You figure every every year they would come in and destroy. So it says, thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt. All right, because when you go into the wars between it was the wars between Alexander's generals, which the main wars was between the Seleucid and the Ptolemy Empire. And the Seleucid Empire, you can find that in the book of Daniel's. I believe it speaks on how like the kings of the the war of the Diadichi, yup. When Seleucus' four emperors was going to war. So the Ptolemaic Empire was the ruler of the south. And then you had the Seleucid Empire, which was the ruler of the west, if I'm not mistaken.
That's the
And
yellow. Mm-hmm.
it's supposed to speak about how one king pretty much got the angle over the other. But as we see, in the midst of the Ptolemaic Empire, I'm sorry, the Seleucid Empire one-upping the Ptolemaic Empire, Israel fell under that wrath.
Yep. Um,
Yep. What it says and after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude. But mind you, he's hot shit. He's taking down kingdoms, you know what I'm saying, taking over their armies. He's the big dude on campus at this point in time. And entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar, the candlesticks of light, and all the vessels thereof. And that's where he fucked up at. And the table of the shewbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the sisters of gold, and the veil, and the crown, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly. And again, that makes me think of the book of Joel the third. Was it the third chapter? Which that's pretty much going into World War III. But it mentions even then how these devils. Let me see. Yeah, Joel chapter 3, right? It says, verse 4. Yeah, and what have ye to do? God, yeah, it says, yeah, and what have ye to do with me? You can read that up.
Joel 3 and 4. Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head. Verse 5. Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried them into your temples, my goodly pleasant things.
Mm-hmm.
The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border.
Right now, this is talking about a different time in history. Nevertheless, it goes to show you how Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, he finds that a very, very offensive that you go into his temples and take the goodly things out of it. As a matter of fact, in the book of Second Maccabees, was it the third chapter? You had I believe it was an Assyrian by the name of Holofernes. He was talking hot shit. You don't gotta grab it. Yeah, he was talking hot shit. About pretty much making the priests pretty much robbing Jerusalem of the silver and gold that was consecrated to the Lord and to help the people. And then ultimately, he came thinking he's going to take what was his, what he thought was his, and then the angel of the Lord came to beat the shit out of him. Right?
Yep.
So the Lord don't play, about the Lord don't play about his temples. And that goes for the people, and the goods in his temples, And it's kind of spiritual because here it is, like it says in what is that, First Thessalonians or Second Thessalonians, he seeketh to sit in the temple of the Heavenly Father. So he got another ass whooping coming for him.
Yep.
just spiritually speaking. But the point, yeah, you can go back to that first Maccabees 1:19, Baba Kushah. Or what do we start reading at?
Uh, 20. We got 21 now.
And entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar, the candlesticks of light, and all the vessels thereof, and all the table of the shewbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold, and the veil, and the crown, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled down. He took also the silver and the gold, and the precious vessels. Also he took the great mass. He took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land. Okay. There was a great mourning in Israel in every place where they were. And then now we could jump down to verse 28. And it says, the land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. And after 2 full years expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah. Right? So he came again, who came into Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceable words unto them, for all was deceit. When they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore. So you can just imagine how these devils is greedy, man. And I was watching a show. It was a minute ago. It was called the Vikings, or one of those shows, those medieval shows. And you had a people, they were under the Roman Empire, which those were the Edomites, and they would tribute to the Roman Empire. So whenever the Roman Empire came, they had to pay tribute. Long story short, though, they pretty much taxed them. So what they thought they owed, the Edomites, they wanted more. That's how this devil is. He's very greedy.
Yep.
Like the scripture say, he is as deaf and cannot be satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
You gonna say something up?
Oh, no, I was gonna go back to that verse from before.
Con, you got it. But that was just the point I want to make. How this devil constantly, was for years on out. Was it 3 years? As we just read, the 143rd year, he set up the abomination of desolations. But even 2 years prior to, he was destroying the Holy Land.
Right. Yep. Time.
And now we at the 140. Was it the 148th year when Judas Maccabees and his brethren reconsecrated the temple?
Yep. This is First Maccabees chapter 1, starting in verse 54. Now the 15th day of the month, Caslu, and the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar, and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side, and burnt incense at the door of the houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found, they burnt them with fire. And whosoever was found with any book of the testament, or if any committed to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death. Thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the cities. Now the 25th day of the month, of what month? Caslu, they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of the Most High. So 25th day of the month. And then you read back here, First Maccabees 4. It says, now on the 20th day of the 9th month, which is called the month Caslu, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning. They did all of this. And then in verse, so this is the same date. That's why it says in verse 54, look at what time and what day the heathen have profaned it. Even in that, what time the heathen have profaned it? Back in First Maccabees 1, it tells you, we just read. It says, look at what time and what day the heathen have profaned it. Even in that was it dedicated with songs and citherns and harps and cymbals. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the God of heaven, who had given them good success. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days, and offered burnt offerings with gladness, and sacrificed the sacrifice of deliverance and praise. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold and with shields, and the gates and its chambers they renewed and hanged doors upon them. Thus, thus was there very great gladness among the people, that the reproach of the heathen was put away. Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of dedication to altars should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days. So this holy day week is 8 days long, and it ends Monday sundown. It says, "From the 5 and 20th day of the month Caslu with mirth and gladness." You know, a nice you can have mirth and gladness on these days. Verse 60. At that time also they built up the Mount Zion with high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles, the heathens, should come and tread it down as they had done before. And they set there a garrison to keep it, and fortified Bethsura to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea, which is a Greek word for saying eat.
Yep.
Like
So hey,
uh,
classic, classic holy day, Jacob versus Esau. And it's beautiful because this is a time when we actually prevail.
yep, yep. Okay. You have anything else?
Nah, yeah,
Oh,
Clemens. Hey
Salah.
man, we're gonna prevail again through the spirit. Hey, over Esau, this spiritual Greece, spiritual Rome,
Uh,
spiritual Egypt, you know.
if I could, real quick, here we go. Just to show you that the Apocrypha is a part of the Bible. St. John 10:22, and it was Jerusalem, and it was at Jerusalem the feast of the dedication, and it was winter, and it shows you even in the New Testament that the feast dedication was mentioned. Just to prove it, you go here to tools. Come on, man, hurry up. Tools, feast of dedication, which is Ekainia, and what does it say here? It says dedication, consecration, in particular. The annual feast celebrated 8 days, beginning in the 25th of Chislev, middle of our December, instituted by Judas Maccabees, 164 BC, in memory of the cleansing of the temple from the pollution of Antiochus Epiphanes. So, one, this shows you the Apocryphas are a part of the Bible, and two, this is where we just went through this history. All right. Yeah, that was that on that.
Yeah, I got some real quick.
Huh?
Baruch chapter 4, verse 24. Like as now, I'll just wait till you grab it.
Yeah.
All right, but read. I want to read down to 25.
Okay. You may
So it says,
read
"Oh, you got it up. Yeah, you read it. You read it."
Luke 4:24, starting verse 24. Luke, it's like as now the neighbors of Zion have seen your captivity, so shall they see shortly your salvation from our God, which shall come upon you with great glory and brightness of the everlasting. Verse 25. My children, suffer patiently the wrath that is come upon you from God, for thine enemy hath persecuted thee, but shortly thou shalt see his destruction and shalt tread upon his neck.
Hmm. And hey, this is just a prelude on what's to come. Yahweh Shimi Yahushua is bringing World War III. All right, and he's coming to save us. All right, but I like this precept because it shows that it won't be all bad for us.
Yep.
It's the current our current situation does not dictate our past, and it does not dictate our future. You see, in this predicament, this devil wants to X out, your past. Forget about the past. That was the past. But the scriptures say that the Lord requires that which is old. The scriptures say that the Lord does not change, therefore Israel should not be consumed. So when we look into laws and high holy days that the Lord has us to wants us to think upon, it's for our encouragement. Thinking upon a Passover, that's for our encouragement. The Feast of Dedication, that's for our encouragement.
Right. Yep. Yep. Come. But
Hey, even the heathen at the end of the day, they're gonna say the Lord have done great things for them. You know, I think that's in Psalms 126.
you want me to grab it?
Yeah, you could grab it. End it out with that, unless you had something else.
Nah. There you go. Yeah, Psalms 126, and I'll just read from 1 down to 3. No, 4. It says, when the Lord turned again the captivity of Zion, we were like them that dream. Then was our mouth filled with laughter, and our tongue with singing. Then said they among the heathen, the Lord hath done great things for them. The Lord hath done great things for us, whereof we are glad. Turn again our captivity, O Yahweh, as the streams in the south.
Yeah, man. So there's said. All right. And with that, we want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to whom it rightfully belongs, which is Yahweh,
Yahuwah,
Ba'ashem, Yahweh
Yahshua,
Shai,
Yahushai,
Ba'ashem,
Yahshua,
Rakakadash,
Kakadash.
for allowing us to do another lesson. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone for being faithful witnesses to the Holy Spirit, and salutations to the elect. May Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai make next year the last year we in this bitch.
Uh,
May Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai speed up the time and give us patience. As we just read, be patient. Salakia, going back to that precept, suffer patiently. Yeah, my children suffer patiently the wrath that has come upon you from God. Right? That's what we need. We need patience, man. More patience as closer we get. As we get closer, Salakia. So with that, shalom to the elect.
so,